Hey everyone, Joe Concepcion, the Heartland Defender here. I've been on vacation for a few weeks and haven't been too inspired, but I got inspired this week mostly after hearing the barely legal comments over the weekend, and I'd like to do a video about that. But before anyone misconstrues my comments in that video, I want to talk about something that's near and dear to me. It's come up many times during my career, and that's people asking, how do you sleep at night? Or how do you defend those people? And I've always found that sort of questioning ridiculous because typically that question comes from a place of trying to pick and choose who gets a defense and who didn't. Well, these people, their offense wasn't that serious, so they get a criminal defense. They get constitutional rights. But these people, what they did was so wrong, let's just hang them from a tree immediately without trial. And we can't think that way. If you are charged with a criminal offense in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. And that's the baseline. The state has to prove that an offense was committed and that it was committed by the person being accused of it. This Constitution also guarantees that someone has a right to counsel. If they can afford counsel, they can go ahead and hire their own private attorney. If they're indigent, then based on the Constitution and based on the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Gideon versus Wainwright, you get appointed counsel if you're facing incarceration. So all of that to say, if we believe in the Constitution, if we believe in our system of laws, if we believe in the foundations of our system of justice, everybody gets a defense. Guilty or not, a drug offense, trafficking, or sex offenses, or even homicide, a person has a right to due process, and part of that is having an attorney. That's where I come in. My job is to make sure my client gets the fairest shake possible. Yes, there are clients I have where the evidence is overwhelming against them, and that's not my call to make. It's not your call to make either. It'll be the state's burden at that point to show whether they can prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt or not, and it's my job to hold the state to that burden, hold their feet to the fire. One of my favorite stories, I was at a music festival once and talking to some friends, and they asked me the inevitable question. This is back when I was mostly trying homicide and sex cases. How do you defend those people? Meanwhile, this guy is lighting up and passing his pipe around, and I looked at him and I'm like, well, here's the problem. Everybody has a right to a criminal defense. But if you get to pick and choose who gets a defense, who doesn't, well, what prevents the person who is anti-drug or who is very much a churchgoer for whatever reason deciding that you smoking the devil's lettuce are as evil as a child molester and that you don't deserve a defense either? We can't operate as a society that way. That's how I sleep at night. Everybody deserves a defense. Everybody deserves their day in court, and everybody is entitled to due process. Now, the hilarious thing about this line of thinking is that I've even had people tell me this who are clients or former clients. Well, how can you defend those people? The same way I defend you. The same way people will ask me, how do you defend those people, whether it's drug offenses, homicides, child offenses, DUI. But then when their family member gets in trouble, when they get in trouble, when someone they know gets in trouble, they're calling me because they want an attorney for that person. And that's the delicious irony of that, is everybody thinks it's going to happen to someone else. And that's probably why, as a society, we don't value the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th Amendments as much as we should, because people think that, well, that applies to someone else. It doesn't apply to good citizens or good God-fearing folk or good law-abiding folk. And again, we can't pick and choose. You either have a system where everybody gets due process, or you have a system where everybody gets hung on the day they're arrested. I make sure that my clients get due process. I make sure that nobody gets convicted of anything unless it's clear that the state can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Sometimes That process ends in a good resolution or a plea agreement. Sometimes that results in dismissal of the case, and sometimes that means we have to go in front of a jury and let 6 peers, 6 members of that county decide whether the state can prove their case or not. I make that happen, and that's how I sleep at night.